Hi guys, welcome back to Presume Legal, the channel where I break down legalese to help small and medium-sized business owners proactively protect their assets. I'm Misha, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an attorney licensed to practice in New York and Florida. Now I'm an attorney, but I'm not your attorney. So anything I say in these videos is for informational purposes only. It's not official legal advice. If you have questions about any of the information that I present to you, I urge you to reach out to local counsel. Now, today, I don't have a case for you, but what I do have is a new law that will impact you if you are a small or medium-sized business owner in the United States of America. Today, we're talking about the Corporate Transparency Act, which has requirements set to begin in January 2024. Hopefully you've heard about it by now, but it seems like the vast majority of people I've come across who it will impact have not heard about it yet. So I'm going to give you a high-level overview of what it is and then get into some of the underlying issues on it. We'll go over who is required to comply, what information has to get reported, who the target of this law is, some deadlines and timelines that we're going to have to adhere to, and penalties for non-compliance. Now, I plan on making a few videos on this topic to cover the rollout of the new law and to provide just bottom line information about what you actually need to know. All right, let's dive into the CTA, which stands for Corporate Transparency Act. This act came into existence thanks to the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2020 that had a primary goal of combating money laundering, terrorism, and other financial crimes. So what does the CTA mean for businesses in the US? It's all about transparency. The CTA places strict reporting requirements on millions, an estimated almost 33 million businesses in existence today, and it's going to make them disclose certain information. The U.S. Department of the Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FinCEN, is in charge of this project. It's in charge of establishing and maintaining a new national registry of beneficial owners. Within the beneficial owners are within these entities or businesses known as reporting companies. And that is going to be who is required to comply with the CTA, reporting companies. These companies are obligated to report what's known as beneficial ownership information, or BOI, to FinCEN. The scope of reporting companies is intentionally broad, including by default all types of entities, except those such as trusts or sole proprietorships and general partnerships, those types of entities that are formed without needing to file documents with a governmental agency like the Secretary of State for your state. The CTA exempts 23 forms of entities from its reporting requirements. The bulk of these entities that are exempt consist of publicly traded companies, highly regulated companies, like banks, credit unions, securities exchange, tax exempt entities, and what they're calling large operating companies. Now, for a business to be considered a large operating company, it has to meet three requirements, all three requirements. It has to maintain a physical presence in the United States. It needs to employ a minimum of 20 full-time employees, and it needs to have gross receipts or sales in excess of $5 million on its last federal income tax returns. Now, for reporting companies that are not exempt, that don't meet the definition, or that don't meet any of the 23 exemptions, and that's going to be, by the way, most small and medium-sized businesses in the US, right? These companies are going to have to file a company application that has basic company corporate information on it. Name, any DBAs of the company, the address, the jurisdiction that the company was formed in, its tax ID or the EIN number. And one note for companies that are formed in 2024 or later, that those types of reporting companies will also need to report the individual person who directly filed the entity formation document with their Secretary of State, whether that's, the owner of the company or the treasurer of the company or a paralegal. But regardless of when a reporting company was formed, pre 2024, so those existing right now today, or after 2024 has begun, regardless of that timing, all reporting companies have to disclose their beneficial owners. Beneficial owners are individuals involved with the reporting company who directly or indirectly exercise substantial control over the entity. So, for example, a senior officer, or own or control 25% or more of the ownership interests. So there's two different criteria. You either exercise substantial control over the entity, or you own or control 25% or more of the company. Now, there's a lot of nuance involved in determining what substantial control over the entity means. Usually somebody in senior leadership or somebody even that just has influence over important decisions made by the company. A puppeteer, for example, would qualify. But it's definitely a case-by-case basis, especially with that catch-all phrase of any other form of substantial control. So if you have questions about who in your company exercises substantial control, you're on the fence about it, they're kind of in a gray area, you'll need to reach out to local counsel for guidance, either that or play it safe and disclose that person as a beneficial owner. Next, the information that has to be filed for each beneficial owner includes personal information of the individuals, their names, their residential addresses, their date of births, and copies of their government issued photo IDs. And that goes for every direct and indirect beneficial owner of the company. So when does this all have to be done? Entities that were formed before 2024, before January 1st, 2024, have until January 1st, 2025 to file their initial report. Entities formed in 2024, so January 1st of 2024 or later, have to file their initial report within 30 days. There is a proposal to allow up to 90 days for these newly created companies to file their initial report. But as of the time that I'm filming this video, that's not finalized. So we're going to go with if you form a company after January 1st, 2024, you're going to have 30 days to file your initial report with FinCEN. Once that initial report is filed, any changes to that information is required to be reported to FinCEN within 30 days of that change occurring. So it could be a change like the sale of a business to new owners, or if one of the beneficial owners changes residential addresses or updates a government ID. That information has to be updated with FinCEN. They want to know who you are and where they can find you. So as you can see, this is going to be an ongoing process for all businesses. It's not a one and done event. Now, what happens if you do not comply with the CTA? Failure to abide by the CTA's reporting requirements will result in penalties. The law has willful violation of the law could result in civil penalties of up to $500 per day of noncompliance, and or criminal fines of up to $10,000, or imprisonment of up to 2 years. Those are or, and. So you can get all of those things. There is a safe harbor. If a person submits incorrect information, there is a 90-day safe harbor period. After submitting that original incorrect report, allowing that person to avoid civil and criminal penalties if the person didn't knowingly submit the inaccurate information with the original report, and if they voluntarily update the report with the corrected information. So if you file a report, you realize, 30 days later that the information was incorrect or inaccurate, you are within that 90-day safe harbor period. You go back to FinCEN, you file an updated report, and you should be fined and not potentially face any penalties for making that mistake. So now I want to briefly go over some immediate issues that are raised with the CTA. The first is privacy concerns. The FAQ on FinCEN's website states the following about who can access your beneficial ownership information. Now let's remember that information is your legal name, your date of birth, your residential address, and government issued ID photo of you, along with the unique ID number. So like a passport number or your state driver's license number. Quote, FinCEN will permit federal, state, local, and tribal officials, as well as certain foreign officials who submit a request through a U.S. federal government agency, to obtain beneficial ownership information for authorized activities related to national security, intelligence, and law enforcement. Financial institutions will also have access to beneficial ownership information in certain circumstances with the consent of the reporting company. Those financial institutions' regulators will also have access to beneficial ownership information when they supervise the financial institutions. So to address concerns with privacy and security, FinCEN goes on to say that it's in the process of developing rules that will govern access to and handling of this information, but the timing for publication of these rules is unknown at this time. What is currently known is that the information reported to FinCEN supposedly will be stored in a secure, non-public database using rigorous information security methods and controls typically used in the federal government to protect non-classified but sensitive information. So some people would characterize this as gross government overreach, because while the CTA ostensibly is targeting money laundering and tax evasion and other financial crimes, it will by default also pick up many legal entities that were formed to achieve privacy or asset protection without engaging in any criminal behavior. We are told that the information to submit it to FinCEN will remain with them or any of the many allowed requesting agencies or financial institutions, but there really is no real way to know that, and it hasn't been tested yet. Moreover, the government's ability to obtain information that was intended to be private will be pretty easy, given the broad reach of national security, intelligence, and law enforcement. Another issue to point out is that the FinCEN platform and forms required to report beneficial ownership information is not yet available. It's now November 2023. This goes into effect in January 2024. It's not so much an issue right now, but for those attempting to prepare and get a lay of the land, it's frustrating that there's no set date that the platform will be available to be viewed. It's 2 months before the reporting requirement goes into effect, and nobody knows the logistics of how it works. Is it even done? Finally, and one of the biggest issues is that for some reason, nobody is talking about the CTA. And I find it strange. Outside specific industry circles and publications, I haven't seen anything about it in mainstream media or social media. Case in point, according to an article posted in October 2023 on corporatecomplianceinsights.com, quote, despite an effective date that's now less than 60 days away, a significant portion of businesses subject to new reporting rules under the CTA are either unaware of the reporting obligations they face or are unsure about how they will comply, according to a new survey. In fact, awareness among affected companies is so low that nearly 3/4 of survey respondents became aware of their CTA obligations only by being asked for the survey. It goes on to say that the survey included nearly 1,000 corporate entities, and close to 75% of them were unaware that the CTA applied to them. Fortunately, there is an abnormally long reporting deadline for existing companies to submit their initial report. Reminder, existing companies have until January 1st, 2025 to file their initial report. This deadline gives existing reporting companies that are questionable entities either time to dissolve, become inactive, and thus become exempt, liquidate their assets, or change their business operating structure so that certain individuals do not meet the definition of a beneficial owner. As a preemptive measure, those who are contemplating starting a business should do it as soon as possible to ensure that the entity will be registered before January 1st, 2024, and thereby avoid the 30-day reporting deadline. I see the CTA as a bag of worms and just one more way for Big Brother to be in our businesses. The entire goal of CTA assumes that those involved in money laundering, tax evasion, or other illegal business schemes will miraculously see the light and comply with their new legal reporting duties. I highly doubt that will be the case. Criminals are going to criminal one way or another, and this will just end up being another administrative burden for small and medium-sized business owners that are just trying to keep their heads above the water. To wrap it up, this is what you need to know right now. First step, figure out whether your entity is a reporting company. If it is, do any exemptions apply to you? If you're a small or medium-sized business, take a look at whether you meet the definition of a large operating company. If no exemption applies, make a list of all the people associated with the company that are or could be beneficial owners. Let those people know. Let them know that you intend to comply with these new laws, with the Corporate Transparency Act, and that you will be following up with them to obtain their personal information, which will have to be reported to FinCEN. Now, if you have general questions about this, leave me a comment down below. I have a template notice letter that if you would like to give your beneficial owners a heads up about this new reporting requirement and the fact that you will be seeking information from them, this is a letter that you can send out to them ahead of you actually filing your initial report with FinCEN. I have that as a template. It's a free template that I am just offering to my viewers. I will leave a link in the description box of how you can obtain that freebie, total freebie. It's a template letter. You're free to, zhuzh it up, put in some of your own language, fill in the highlight type of things. But it's just one way that I want to be able to assist you guys with this new administrative burden. I'll be looking for other ways to help you guys out because Lord knows it's hard in these streets. Lots of changes, lots of updates coming down the pike with this one, guys. Um, this is a brand new law. A lot of things aren't figured out yet. A lot of commentary is still being taken in by FinCEN. So they will be, ostensibly listening to reviews and hopefully implementing, suggestions of the people, of we the people. But if you want to stay up to date on all of this information, I will be posting informative videos about the CTA and about all things legal, business, small business, medium-sized business, things that impact you, influencer law, all types of things. If you'd like to keep abreast of developments with the rollout of the new law, hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned. Let me know if you have any questions of a general nature about CTA. Leave me a comment below. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will address them. Okay. Thanks for watching. I'll see you at the next drop.